To everyone out there with your fantasy football teams, don't freak out, it's just week one. Don't freak out, it's just week one. The first game for Marvin Harrison was embarrassing. I thought he'd be like his dad. Week one was no comparison, but you can't give up. That's one thing you can't do unless you got 2 for 14 from Mark Andrews. He got in a car accident, maybe it messed up his psyche, but you should go to your waivers and pick up Isaiah Likely. Don't freak out that you're losing Jordan Love, it's only a sprain. His knee wasn't tore up, it's only week one. You're still alive, even if you had Evan Engram's 1 for 5. Am I ever gonna win fantasy? That's what you're wondering. Cause you got 2 for 15 from Drake London. When you left your draft, you thought you had a sick team, until Amari Cooper got you 2 for 16. Look at your phone, no one on your team scoring, and you got 2 for 17 from Terry McLaurin. If you still owe dues and you haven't paid, and you got 1 for 11 from Dalton Kincaid, don't freak out. Play it cool like Rico Suave, but you can freak out if you got Chris Olave. Don't freak out, it's just week one. Watch the Friday night freak out when your week's done. Don't freak out, it's just week one. Watch the Friday night freak out when your week's done. Don't freak out, it's just week one. Watch dad rap music when your week's done. Don't freak out, it's just week one on the Racing Dudes YouTube when your week's done. Don't freak out, it's just week one. Don't freak out, it's just week one. What's up, everybody? It is the Friday Football Freak Out, and I am freaking out because there's been some crazy news today. Friday the 13th has been crazy. September 13th, it is week 2 of the 2024 NFL season, and my guest tonight is Jared Welch of the Racing Dudes. How are you doing tonight, Jared?
What is up, Slim? I'm excited. Just hanging out Friday night, drinking some brewskis, and listen. What do we do this time of the year on a Friday night? You start looking at your lineups, like trying to contemplate those decisions, and why not get together and let's the UNLV game, Kansas. I was just watching that, Rob, as I got in here. That was a hell of a game. Did UNLV score? I don't know if
UNLV Kansas is on right now. All right. We got some football on a Friday night, college football going on tonight. Yeah, and there's been some crazy news. Friday the 13th has been wild with NFL news breaking, and that's really what we're going to do during the Friday Football Freakout. I want to explain to everybody what this show is about. It's about setting your fantasy football lineups. You've worked all week. We're going to hang out. We're going to have a good time. We're going to drink some beers. Hopefully, if you're a dad and you put your kids down, they're sleeping, and you can enjoy just hanging out and talking football. We're going to be taking your start, sit, lineup questions all night long, and, well, maybe not all night long. We're going to only hold this down to like 45 minutes to an hour. I don't want to keep everyone up all night, but on the East Coast, it's after 10 o'clock. So you know what? We got to get ready for the weekend, and the way to do it is to get your fantasy football lineup set up. And the big news of the day, what we're going to do on this show, we're going to start with the big news of the day, and the big news of the day is, let me get it up over here. Where is it? Anyway, it is. I'm already messing up. So Christian McCaffrey is out. It is not a good situation for everyone who picked him number 1 in your draft. Hopefully you got Jordan Mason, because the idea right now is that Christian McCaffrey may go to IR. He'll be out for 4 weeks. Tomorrow at Saturday at 4 o'clock, they have to make the decision if they're going to put him on IR. What do you think about all this, Jared?
Dude, I mean, whatever. When I saw that he was out, again, I thought, well, that's, not totally unexpected. I just based off of him being out like that late, whatever, Monday, after evening, really, it felt like scratch. But when it said considering moving to IR, I thought, oh shit, this is way worse than expected. And it's just out of nowhere because, obviously he was very clearly the consensus number 1 draft pick from pretty much any league, no matter what league, if you play PPR or not, he was the guy, right? And now it's like all of a sudden he's out, and now not only is he out, but he's maybe going to IR. And for the some of those that were lucky in our league, we had the owner actually was able to snag, because he was able to, as soon as he got out, he got to put him on we have an IR slot, so he put CMC on the IR and grabbed Mason, which was a genius move. But for those that had to, risk waiver fab or however you guys do it, boy, that might turn out to be the waiver move of the year because he looked really good without CMC, and it sounds like we may not see him for a while.
Yeah, I am in a best ball league with a bunch of my buddies, and I paid up $56 out of my $100 free agent acquisition budget fab to get Jordan Mason. And when they said he was practicing on Thursday, Christian McCaffrey, I'm like, oh my God, I just blew my whole budget on Jordan Mason, and I'm not even going to get a start out of him. And now I might be getting 4 starts out of him if Christian McCaffrey. One thing you can do, go to your waiver wire and see if Isaac Guerrero is available. He is a rookie, and you might impress your friends, if you get Isaac Guerrero. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm going to be dropping raps during the game, during the show. So that's what I'm going to be rapping on the show. If you guys saw the intro, I had my rap to begin the show, and we're going to be talking about the news. So moving to the next big news item, you guys might not have seen this one yet, about A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is on the injury report, the wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's a hamstring. Hamstrings are always very tricky. They play, and what's also very tricky about this is that they play on Monday night versus the Falcons. So if you get scared, we're going to know by tomorrow if he is really on the injury report, if he's questionable or not. But if you don't have anyone else on your team, if you don't have Devontae Smith on your team, let's say, you might want to go out there and pick up Jahan Dotson, who they traded for in the offseason, what you traded for during the training camp. Jahan Dotson might get some looks. And on the other side of the ball, the Atlanta Falcons, Darnell Mooney did nothing in week 1, but he is in the slot, and he may get some catches this week if Kirk Cousins gets his act together. So if you got A.J. Brown, and I know you got A.J. I got A.J. Brown on one of my teams. I know you got A.J. Brown on one of your teams. Are you freaking out? On the Friday Night Freak Out, are you freaking out, Jared?
I'm freaking out a little bit because as he probably is on yours, right? He's my number 1 wide receiver, and he looked amazing last week. And anytime a guy shows up late in the week on the injury report, it's never good, right? You want to see like the progression, like you look at Achane, like for instance, last week or yesterday, I guess. But he was on the injury report all week and kind of progressively got better and better and closer to kind of being a game time decision than obviously he played. But when you show up on Friday on the injury report, at the very best, I feel like we're going to be working with him at 70% or something. Like if it's a hammy, which it sounds like that's what it was or is, like he's not. That's, you got to be careful with those. So I'm a little worried because he's one of those guys there is a little bit, the ball has to go around a little bit in Philly, so he is already kind of one of those riskier kind of wide receiver ones every week, just because sometimes he doesn't get the ball as much or whatever. But now you're talking a guy that's gonna be limited. Yeah, it's not ideal, dude.
Yeah, if Jahan Dotson's out there, Darnell Mooney might be someone. Both of them might be people you want to think about picking up because it is a Monday night game, and we might not know if it is a game time decision. Yeah. So, pack it up. See if you got somebody at the end of your bench that you could drop and pick up one of those 2 guys to get ready for Monday Night Football. But we're going to take a step back to Thursday Night Football. Last night, you talked about Achane, and you had a good decision there. You played Achane. We're going to talk about your decision in that league a little bit later in the start and sit segment of this show. But the big news out, Tua Tagovailoa. He's definitely going to be out at least 1 week. There's no way they're going to roll him back next week after this concussion. No. Really ironically that he would get hit by, Hamlin out of all the people in the world to get hit by to maybe put a guy's career over. But, Tua got all the money and, $160 million guaranteed, and they get the, one game and plus, 3 quarters out of him with that big contract. Who knows? I hope, he is okay and he comes back in a week or 2, and it's a big thing for Tyreek Hill. I have Waddle on 3 of my 4 teams, and I'm like freaking out that Waddle. This is the Friday Night Freak Out, the Friday Night Football Freak Out. I'm freaking out about Waddle because of Tua, and I hate to talk about it from a fantasy perspective that Tua, he might, who knows what's going to happen to him. He's got 2 kids. Hopefully everything's okay for him, but we're going to be talking about fantasy. So what are you thinking about this from a fantasy perspective?
Well, and I don't think he's going to play either, but the one positive note, if from a fan, again, strictly fantasy, is at least you have a longer week, right? It was on a short, it was on a Thursday game, so you have the weekend plus all next week to maybe get a chance to play. But anytime you have a guy that's very visually concussed, and then on national TV, it's like, and then it's really not a good look to get him back out to the very, especially a guy that's had like three reported, four of them in the last, was it 2 years? It's yeah, it's fantasy like it's down. Like he gets up points, right? But I mean, I think Achan's stock went up, after that news, because they're obviously going to do a lot of dump offs and just whatever, trying to get any kind of plays downfield. But yeah, man, from a non-fantasy standpoint, though, like, gosh, at what point you got paid? You're young, like, you got a lot of life to live. Like, I don't know, man. That it's starting to get a little scary.
Definitely scary with Tua. Hopefully, everything checks out with him with all the CT scans they're going to be doing. But we're going to keep on rolling, talking about the different injuries that are going on. We got some guys that are doubtful this week. We're going to be rolling with Ken Walker. I got Ken Walker on my team, and I don't have Zach Charbonnet, so I'm freaking out on the football freak out Friday night here. Ken Walker is doubtful. After the game, he said, I'm good. And now he is doubtful, probably not going to play. He didn't practice all week. He has this abdomen oblique injury. I'm not happy about it because I don't have Charbonnet. If you have Charbonnet, he has to be started this week, and because he's going to be, I think even the quote from the coach was that, he's like the same dude as Ken Walker, and they're going to use him the same exact way. And also, if you have Jake Ferguson, this was something that we knew right after the game, that Jake Ferguson probably wasn't going to be playing this week, the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys with a knee injury. He likely will be out. So what do you think about these two guys?
Well, hey, the Shoemaker, he might get some play. Amped a rookie last year, might get some tight end exposure there in Dallas. But from a Kenneth Walker, man, it's well, for one, I thought he was gonna. I was with you. I didn't even try to get Charbonnet, honestly, because I was like, well, he's gonna play, and it's like you don't want to waste too much fab on a guy that's like at best gonna maybe get you 1 week, and obviously Kenneth Walker, he's a stud. So if he's out there, he's gonna eat up a lot of the action. So I didn't even put one in for Charbonnet. I try to, honestly, dude, unless you have Kenneth Walker, who he when he's in, he's elite, but like that Seattle backfield, man, is always hard to guess and figure out who is going to be in and who's going to play. And I wouldn't be surprised if who's the guy behind Charbonnet, like if he has a good game, that it just feels like whenever it's not Kenneth Walker, it's hard. It's kind of musical chairs back there a little bit. So I would be, to me personally, I'm staying away from the Seattle backfield completely. I mean,
Really?
if you have Kenneth Walker, obviously you're throwing him out there, but from me, I don't have any exposure in Kenneth Walker. I'm not going out there and trying to like get crazy and get a guy on the running back committee in Seattle.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're playing at the Patriots. They got Jared Mayers, their coach. Maybe the Patriots are, it's the jury's still out. What happened week 1 with Cincinnati? We'll talk about Cincinnati a little later and how horrible they've been. Cincinnati, at least from the first week, and losing to the Patriots at home is a big favorite. I took them in my last man standing pool, lost in the first week, so I'm really not happy with the Cincinnati Bengals, but I don't know if the Patriots are that good. So I think Charbonnet at New England is a good play. Let's move to the guys that are questionable for this week. And we got Jayden Reed, who had both of these guys here. Jayden Reed and Jameson Williams both had huge first weeks, and we're like, oh, wow, not really came out of nowhere. We knew about both of these guys coming into the season. They had big weeks, and now they're both questionable, but Jayden Reed was limited in practice on Friday. Jameson Williams was limited in practice all week. So I think both of them will play. Will they be affected? Obviously, Jayden Reed not playing with Jordan Love is really going to affect him more than maybe this calf injury. And Jameson Williams with this ankle injury that popped up, both questionable this week.
Is it – maybe it's just me, but like I really like the running or the wide receivers in Green Bay. Like I think it's a really good group of young wide receivers. Having said that, they're almost impossible to predict each week on which wide receiver is going to go off. I mean, like I love Octavian Wicks. I think he is a stud, but also like look at last week. He didn't do anything. He literally did nothing, but Jaden Reed did. And so you have Romeo Dobbs, who I think is a good player. And then, of course, Christian Watson, who has those huge games here and there. It's tough, man. It's tough. Honestly, even when all healthy, it's hard to really decide on which guy is like that elite wide receiver one. I think it's Jaden Reed, but at the same time, him questionable. Obviously, J Love as well with the injury, and I doubt. I don't mean he's not playing, right? He's questionable. He's listed as questionable. There's no way he's playing. Malik Willis, I guess, is going to get the play for at least a few weeks now. But yeah, J Love escaped. I love J Love going into the season too, so that was a bummer.
Yeah, no, they're going to be without Love this week for sure, and I don't think you're going to roll back a guy after you pay $200+ million for him and put him out there after he gets hurt in week 1. But we're moving to week 2, and we're going to talk about the starts and sits for the week, and we're going to start off with one that I have. So please drop in the comments, drop them your start and sits comments. I think we had one to start. I'll probably bring that one up.
Before we get into it, I wanted to add one. It came up late today. Did you see that? I'm a Chiefs guy. That Hollywood Brown, the Chiefs going to the IR now and going to be out the whole season. So a guy that obviously we brought in to be a stud wide receiver, going to stretch the field. Obviously we have Worthy, but a lot of people drafted Hollywood, right? And we're kind of banking on getting that steal. Like, he's hurt, but he'll be back soon. He's out all year. Yeah. Dude, he was like tracking. He was tracking to play this week. And then he was feeling better. They went and did another MRI X-ray, and it wasn't healing. The shoulder wasn't healing the way it was supposed to, and they needed to have surgery. And so that basically ixnayed that. And so maybe we'll see him in the playoffs, I guess, if that's the thing. But yeah, man, that's a big hit for both the Chiefs and anybody that, was banking on Hollywood Brown being that kind of steal of the draft because no one was thinking about him because he was hurt.
Yeah, I kind of gave up on him. I was telling my buddies, like, he should just retire after Xavier Worthy's first game. Like, he's not going to need to come back. But, yeah, I mean, obviously you need as many weapons as you possibly can to make another Super Bowl run and get that three-peat. And obviously I said I was going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs with you, and you brought it up before I could even get to it. So I knew that was going to happen. What was the under-over that Jarrett would bring up the Kansas City Chiefs before I did? So, obviously, yeah, that is a big – I mean, I just feel like, his career was kind of been over. I don't know. I wasn't really counting on him much this year. And yeah, it is a big loss that, they won't have that weapon. And, you need to be as deep as you possibly can be, as we just talked about, 10 guys right now that got injured. So if Worthy goes down, if Rashee Rice misses a game or two, I got Rashee Rice on one of my teams, and he's just been, obviously the first week was awesome with him. So yeah. I'm counting on him throughout the year. But who else are we going to be counting on? Well, I thought I was going to be counting on Javonte Williams, and his first week was not very good at all. Now he's playing against the Steelers this week, who Bijan Robinson in week 1 had 3.8 yards per carry in the first game. I think the Steelers defense is pretty stout. So I'm really worried about Javonte Williams, and I think I'm going to be starting Tony Pollard, who, originally, as the season started, I thought I was going to be more of a Tyjae Spears guy, but Tony Pollard really came up big in week 1. He's playing home to the Jets, and they just got torched by the guy we talked about earlier in the show, Jordan Mason, who had 147 yards rushing in week 1. So my start here is Tony Pollard over Javonte Williams.
Listen, I like it, actually. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of with you going into the all my drafts and stuff. I was very much against I didn't want anything to do with the backfield in Tennessee. I was just like, Tony Pollard obviously did not perform well last year in Dallas. It was expected to be the guy. Wasn't Tyjae Spears. There has always been talk, that he might be the guy, but I was just kind of wanted to stay away from him. And then Tony Pollard rattles off, goes 16 for 82, a tutty. He had that long run for a touchdown. It was a real nice run. Looked good against the Bears. I was like, oh, okay, maybe Tony Pollard is a thing. And so, yeah, when you compare the two, I'm probably going Pollard. That offense though is a little worrisome. Both, well, to be fair, both of those options are a little worrisome from an offensive, what they're working with. But I would probably lean towards Tony Pollard. I don't love it though.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't love Tony Pollard, and the Jets defense did look bad in the week one. Obviously, you think they got a good defense, the Jets. I am a Jets fan. I'm a Jets and a Giants fan. You don't find too many of those, but why not? I'm a New Yorker through and through. If you didn't know my New York accent, that I'm up here in Saratoga Slim. I live in Saratoga. I've lived in New York my whole life, so Jets and Giants fan. I hope the Jets get their act together on the road in Tennessee. But we had a question to start the show. Someone asked a start-sit lineup. Oh, no. Was this it? No, this wasn't it. Here it was. Sorry.
There you go.
Captain Joe King. You know this guy, Captain Joe King?
I don't, but I appreciate it. It's awesome.
Huge fan of the show. We are only, what the heck? Oh, what are we like?
20 minutes in.
What are we? We're 20 minutes in the show. We already got a huge fan of the show.
Listen,
all right.
Are you surprised?
What are your question? Am I a buffoon to want to start Worthy? We're just talking about Xavier Worthy with Hollywood Brown out for the season. He's going to be counted on. Is he a buffoon to want to start Xavier Worthy over Davante Adams or Malik Neighbors? What do you think? I'll let the Chiefs fan answer this one.
Oh man, that's tough. For this week alone, I would be a little hesitant. I know, like, having Hollywood out, you think, well, all of a sudden, like, he's a guy. But I mean, and listen, he's my worry with him, and why I was all in on Rashee Rice in every league I could get him in this year was, like, I think Worthy is going to have those games like he did last week. When I thought Hollywood Brown was playing, right, he's going to be that guy that has those games here and there. But Rashee is like that middle of the field. He's going to get a ton of balls. He's going to get a lot of, quick slants and stuff, which he ran last weekend over the middle. And against the Bengals, we saw what New England did against the Bengals last week. I think it's going to get to Pacheco. I think we're going to run the shit out of Pacheco on Sunday. So I like Pacheco a lot. Overall, I mean, I think Worthy's going to have a hell of a year, but I don't know that I would go Worthy over Adams, honestly. And Neighbors, I know he underperformed in week one, but in that Giants team, which I'll let you talk about that. But I would probably go. I mean, Adams is just, he's elite, right? I think I'd go Adams.
Adams, yeah. I was all about Malik Neighbors this week, and Washington Redskins, their secondary is garbage. Tampa Bay lit him up. Baker Mayfield had a huge game against Washington, and maybe it's just because the Washington secondary is horrible. And I thought Neighbors, I was even thinking about starting Daniel Jones in my daily fantasy lineup. I'm going to be giving out a daily fantasy lineup at the end of this show here. I got to give some picks out later in the show, so that's going to be my picks for the week. And that's what I'm probably going to do every week, do a daily lineup so we could talk through some of the guys. And I say Pacheco is really, I said this yesterday when I was on Blinkers Off with you guys. Pacheco is my pick of the week. I know he's a stud, but you're right. I think they're just going to run it down the throats of the Cincinnati Bengals, who just got torched in week one on the ground. So I don't really love Worthy in this spot, but yeah, Neighbors I don't love. So yeah, I guess Davante Adams, I don't know. I'm not a huge Raiders fan this year with their quarterback situation, but and at the Ravens, I'm not sure about it. So maybe I'll go back to saying Neighbors in this situation. But moving along, and I think we have a start-sit question that I wanted to bring up about your team. So yesterday I was on Blinkers Off, and you were talking about J.K. Dobbins. And I said, J.K. Dobbins, another one who was one of the big starts of the week. And we were talking about Achane. I said, hey, if Achane plays, maybe we won't get a full workload. Well, he did get a full workload, and he's going to get plenty of work with Tua out. So you made the right move by making sure Achane is in. Achane is like a top 5 running back at this point. I mean, he looks, if you redid the draft right now, he would be in the top 10 picks probably.
Oh, yeah.
He just looks unstoppable. And, people think about his injuries. Well, anyway, but you have another decision to make now. You showed me your lineup today, and I said, well, I really like Dobbins. Who do you have? And you said, I got ATN. And I'm like, I feel like Dobbins, if he's healthy, which he's going to be healthy, hopefully this week he stays healthy throughout the game, I would tell you to start Dobbins over ATN, but what you think?
I've been, dude, and honestly, since we talked about it this morning, I've been back and forth thinking about it. Like, you got ETN against Cleveland, and you've got Dobbins against the pathetic, awful looking Panthers. I mean, and on top of that, or ATN had his. I mean, I think honestly, Bigsby maybe got one more carry than he did, but they split the backfield basically. I mean, Bigsby really looked better. And then Dobbins was just, I mean, even though he didn't get a ton, I mean, it's clear that he is the guy. And you can they're a run team first now. They're in with Harbaugh. So it's like in a vacuum, I like ETN better, but kind of based off of week one and also part of me is like, man, you have Dobbins. I spent like 40 fab on him because I needed depth at running back, and I'm like, you may not be able to use him in a couple of weeks. I mean, let's be honest. Like Dobbins may not be a guy I can use in December, so it's like if he's there, I might as well use him. So yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards Dobbins. Obviously, Achane got me a ton of points, but I went against James Cook, which hurt. So I'm in a tight match still.
Yeah.
I
one
think
guy had 29.5 and one guy had 28.5 in PPR leagues.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's pretty amazing. One guy had 3 touchdowns, the other guy had only had 1, and Achane still outscored him in our league anyway. He's like a cheat code, honestly. Just based off of how his skill and the usage, which is it's like, how about going into a game questionable with a bum ankle and you get like 20 touches in the game? And then on top of that, McDaniels got him out there in a blowout. They're getting killed. He's out there in the fourth quarter just adding up points. I'm like, oh, shit, this dude, like, get him. At this point, I'm like, get him out, please. I need him for next week.
No. Yeah, that's like I was going to talk about Pacheco later, and I'm happy they got Samaje Perine to get him off the field because it's just like give the guy you need him all year long, Pacheco, and he gets right banging into people every play pretty much. So like don't even worry if your guy doesn't get all the work sometimes because you need him every week, and that's exactly right. Your question, or were you talking about Bigsby and Etienne? They both had 12 carries last week. Bigsby got 73 yards. Etienne had 44 yards, but he also did have the touchdown. Do we have any other start-sit questions? I don't think we do, but I do have one other start-sit for the week, and we're going to talk a little bit about wide receivers. I have Cortland Sutton that I started week one. I'm like, oh, Bo Nix is going to throw to him every play, and he's right. Yes, he had 12 targets, but he didn't do much with those targets. This week, I was able to pick up Demarcus Robinson for $12 with my free agent acquisition budget. And I think I'm leading towards playing Demarcus Robinson in the shootout, the Cardinals versus Rams. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. One of the injuries we didn't talk about early in the show was Puka Nacua is on IR, out 4 weeks. They have a bye week after that, so probably 5 weeks you won't have Nacua back, and that's why I spent up on Demarcus Robinson. So I think I'm going to roll the dice with Robinson. Sutton will be playing against the Steelers. We talked about Denver against the Steelers. Steelers, I think, have a good defense. Joey Porter Jr. will probably be shadowing Cortland Sutton. He shadowed Drake London in week one, and Drake London had 2 catches, so for like 16 yards or something. So it was rough. It was rough, and I think I'm going to be rolling with Demarcus Robinson. What do you think?
I mean, listen. Shout out to Demarcus Robinson, Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs. He used to play for the Chiefs, and they cut him and look at him now. You're starting him in fantasy football. So, listen, I'll tell you what. Still, the draft for me was Cooper Kupp was just sitting out there late in my draft. Not late, but mid draft. And I'm like, dude. And man, look at him now. He's just got it's handed to him on a silver platter with the start of the season. God, he got like 16 targets last week.
No, more.
Was it 20?
Yeah. He was up in the 20. It was outrageous. I mean, he is going to be a machine this year. Where's the stats here? Hold on.
Dude, that's insane.
Kupp had 21 targets, 14 for 110 and a touchdown. I mean, 21 targets. The guy, I mean, I would imagine if there was Vegas, if you could bet, you could bet on anything in Vegas. I'm sure you could bet on who he's going to have the most targets in the year. I would imagine he's even money or odds on at this point because I
mean, every play, they even like just little wheel routes or just quick outs or whatever. Like he tried to just unload on him. It was great though. I mean, for a fantasy owner, but yeah, I mean, Demarcus, I always kind of liked him. He just never, he's a good guy to have with another guy or two, that's good. So if you have Cooper Kupp out there taking some targets, that'll be nice. If from that decision, I honestly don't want anything to do with Courtland Sutton. I mean, that's kind of gross. Well, Bo Nix too. I mean, isn't it funny how good Bo Nix looked in preseason? Caleb Williams looked in preseason, and then the real games start, and it's like kind of back to reality a little bit. It's going to take a little time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And talking about this team, well, here we're going to go. I told you I'm going to make some picks this week, and I'll start with the I'll jump around my lineup. So here is my daily fantasy football lineup, DraftKings lineup for week 2. These are my picks, and we'll start with the stud we were just talking about, Cooper Kupp, only $7,600. I mean, there's guys that are a lot more than him already on DraftKings. He's probably going to be moving up the charts, so you won't be able to afford him in a few weeks. But he's just going to get a lot of work, obviously, at Arizona, ranked 24th. This is just based off 1 week, these ranks that you see here. This right here is a tournament lineup that I'm trying to be a little bit contrarian. I'll talk through it. And obviously, Kupp. Another guy I have here, Colby Parkinson, $3,100. I really think is a steal because when you look at this, and I got my Rams jersey on, I got my Isaac Bruce jersey on, one of my guys. I've been playing fantasy football since 1991. I'm that old. I would have a pad and a pen, and we write it down. I was in 7th grade in middle school with my buddies, and we would play every year. And anyway, so I've been playing forever. I had Isaac Bruce the year he broke out in like 1995 or something. So I've been playing forever. And I never saw a guy had a season like Cooper Kupp. I had him on my team 2 years ago when he blew up, and I just saw that week 1, he looked exactly like he did. And he was injured last year, but he looked like that guy that had that ridiculous year a couple of years back. And I think Colby Parkinson for $3,100. Hey, you know what? I feel like Stafford is just gonna have guys. One guy every week is going to probably do all right with Kupp. It might be Demarcus Robinson. It might be Colby Parkinson, and or it could be Tyler Johnson. So we'll see how it goes week to week. But I got both of those guys in my lineup. At the top of the lineup, I start with Jaden Daniels. I mean, I was really impressed with him last week against Tampa Bay. Hey, he didn't pass that well, but he was running. 2 rushing touchdowns, looked really good, 88 yards on the ground, and he missed Terry McLaurin on like a 52-yard touchdown, and also another one would have been a 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah,
McLaurin, I feel like he had 2 catches for 17 yards in week 1. So anytime in DraftKings when I start a quarterback, I always got to have one of their wide receivers or tight ends. So I'm doing a combo here with Daniels and McLaurin versus the Giants. I talked about how the Giants, I mean, they made Sam Darnold look decent in week 1. So Jaden Daniels should be able to get some passing done. He's at home. This is his home debut. So I feel like he's going to put up a lot of points. He was the 3rd highest scoring quarterback last week. Isaiah Pacheco, we already talked about Pacheco. They're just going to ram that ball down Cincinnati's face. I mean, I just feel like Pacheco is going to get so much work. Ramondre Stevenson had 120 yards, and I was talking earlier about how I don't think the Patriots are good at all, but he had 120 yards. If he could get 120 yards rushing, I don't even want to see. I do want to see what I do want to see what Pacheco can do against this Cincinnati lineup at home. I also like Jerome Ford as my RB2. Hey, he's going to get a ton of work at Jacksonville. Last week, Jacksonville was giving up a bunch of catches out of the backfield to A-Chain and even Mostert. So Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong only had 4 carries. Ford gets all the third down work, gets all the catches, and I like Ford at only $5,900. It's a good price for a guy that is going to at least get 20 touches or more. Talking about the biggest game of the week, I was going to do the game of the week, and I'm like, I don't know. But the game of the week in my mind is this Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Detroit, and they are ranked 32nd against wide receivers after week 1. And Godwin, hey, man, he was working the slot, getting 8 catches last week, and I think he's going to be doing the same exact thing here in this game. I like to have more pieces of this game if you're playing some other lineups, Goff, Jameson Williams if he's healthy, Godwin, Evans. There's going to be a lot of scoring in that game. It's 51.5 over and under, the biggest over and under of the week. So you got to have a piece of that game. I talked about McLaurin. We talked about Parkinson. We talked about J.K. Dobbins already. And the last one on the list here, the Titans defense. Hey, man, when I play DFS, I usually don't spend a lot of money on my defense. And the Jets, hey, I don't know. I was a little bit – I know they play against San Francisco, and San Francisco is one of the best teams in football. But the Jets did not do much against San Francisco. They're going – into Tennessee for this game. And I thought the Titans defense looked very good against Chicago. Hey, Caleb Williams' first game. What can you do? But I thought the Titans looked decent, and they've added a lot of pieces in the offseason. So that's my lineup for this week. What you think, Jared?
Wow. It's a lot to unfold there. I love me some Jaden Daniels. Not necessarily he did not have a great game in real life, but fantasy, he was a beast. I had him on my fantasy team, and he just, rushed. What do you have? 100 yards rushing, couple tutties. I agree, the passing wasn't ideal. I didn't think so. I think the McLaurin is a little dicey, but it could. The Giants were so bad, and they got to start connecting. So I don't necessarily hate it. Plus, you get the combo, right? I know you probably like to do that as well. You get those double points. So, I don't need to talk about Pacheco. I think that's clear. I was just trying to look up the prop bets. I'll look up in a second, but I feel like the prop bet for anytime touchdown for Pacheco is as good of a lock as there is. I just it's just that kind of game. Pacheco will get in the end zone. I love Cooper Kupp. Say no more. Chris Godwin. They hammered Evans last week, so maybe get a little Godwin game, and then Dobbins. We talked a lot about him, but no. Do you typically wait to when you kind of get to the bottom of for a defense? Do you kind of just see what you have left and then see who you can afford? You probably don't. Do you really seek out anybody on defense?
No, I just kind of landed on the Titans somehow. I don't really pick them last. I kind of just had them in there and don't spend a lot on them. It's so random defenses, they could get a touchdown just randomly. Look at Chicago last week, and that's why the Titans lost last week. They really shut down the offense. DeAndre Swift had 10 carries for 30 yards. And the only reason the Titans lost that game is because Chicago had, two special defensive and special team touchdowns. So, I try to pick a team that, has made some offseason moves that maybe is going under the radar. I think the Titans are. Hey, man, Breece Hall, he could get it going. Garrett Wilson could get it going this week. I don't think Rodgers looked that great, but hey, they played against the 49ers. So we'll see. I'm a Jets fan. I hope they turn it around in week 2. And so that's that for week 2. And what I'm going to do, this is kind of also going to be a variety show because it is Friday night. Hopefully everyone's drinking a beer out there, having a good time. And when I have dads on the show, and I don't know if I could get this music to play. Have you ever really tried to play music on the show?
Yeah, and one time I did on Blinkers Off, and I got yelled at because everyone said it was too loud. So, but you can try it though.
All right, but I tried to play it, and for some reason, when you started talking,
is it uploaded?
Hold on. Yeah, I got it. So talk. See if there's something happening.
Yeah.
Is it too loud? I can make it lower. Okay.
Right there.
All right. So when I get a dad on, so I'm dad rap. All right. So I'll tell you what happened to me. Right. I was Saratoga Slim. I started working for the Racing Dudes back in 2015. So I worked for them for 7 years, and I retired 5 times during that time, if you have followed my career. And then all of a sudden, I said, hey, I'm going to start rapping. And I'm a dad. I got 2 kids. So I said, hey, when I have dads on the show, I'm going to play some music, and I'm going to bring them into what I'm calling – where is it? Oh, my Lord. I don't know what I'm talking about right now.
You almost got it.
So you got to bear with me here. There it is. That Dad Life Lounge. Right?
Oh.
So you're in that Dad Life Lounge, right? How, and all the dads out there, hopefully we get some comments. Oh, we got some comments. We'll go through the comments in a little bit. But the question about dads, and this is really tough, right? You got 2 kids. It's Sunday. All you want to do is watch football. They want to watch Blippi. They want to watch whatever, YouTube random crazy Tayo Go Thomas, whatever show they want. How do you watch football on Sundays when you're taking care of your kids, Jared?
Well, I tell you what, it's not easy, especially as a single dad with 2 kids. It's all hands on deck. Now I'll say this: my oldest is 8 now. The youngest is 5. I've got the 8-year-old trained now where he loves the Chiefs like I do, so he's into it. Blippi, he was saying Blippi. We're actually out of Blippi. Or Bluey or Blippi, but we're out of Blippi. We're in Bluey. But honestly, I've got Cohen trained, like he knows all the players, not just for the Chiefs, but he knows. I'll be like, hey, watch this play by Bijan or not much last week, but whatever it is, like he knows all the guys. He's like, oh wow, that was that's great. Or when we were rooting against the Bengals, losing that game on Sunday. So, like, it's not too bad with him. Now, Coop, on the other hand, like, he doesn't care. He does not care at all. So, that's a little bit of a challenge. So, last Sunday was easy because the Chiefs played Thursday, right? So, I had Red Zone on all day. I just had it on the background the whole time, and it was great. But those days, like, anytime that we have a game, like a big game, because I'm the kind of Chiefs fan that, like, I don't miss a single play. I stand up. I'm yelling, like the whole thing. Like, I do not. My key is, like, I have to have my parents over, or we go to my parents, and everyone just knows to leave me alone during the game. So it's challenging. Obviously, watching mini Super Bowls with the boys over the last couple of years has been fun, but it's I'm a maniac, to put it simply. So, but no, I've got Cohen trained to where he's like my little sidekick watching these games.
That's the correct answer. You have the correct answer. It is when you correct. The correct answer is get your kids into football. So my wife, she's a Giants fan, so I'm trying to get my daughter into it. She's kind of into it a little bit, and you know what? It's helped more than anything. Taylor Swift, obviously, they only show her 47 times during a game. So, she's a Chiefs fan, if you can believe it, because she loves Travis Kelce. So, get your kids into football because that is the next thing. So, we're going to finish off this show.
I do have maybe some advice. You're older than I am, so maybe I should. So here's although I think I look as old as you, though. So my kids, and like, do you ever? And you don't have it because Elle is is maybe not into it as like Cohen is, but like I'm kind of getting to that point where like so Cohen absolutely loves like Tyreek Hill. He loves like Rashid. Cooper loves Rashid, and it's like like these guys aren't the greatest examples off the field, like kind of the stuff they're getting into. And so like I guess it's like, at what point do you have to like hone in on like, this is just football? Like maybe these aren't the guys that my kids should be like completely looking up to. Now Mahomes, on the other hand, like I look up to Mahomes and he's younger than I am. But you know what I mean? Like when you get to that kind of, you kind of have to like dial it back a little bit, you think, with the kids?
Bring what? Sorry, I was reading the comment.
Guys, listen, it happens on Blinkers Off, and now I get Slim, and no one listens to me.
I was reading the comments. I was trying to see if anyone had a good comment.
I thought you were like intently listening to my question.
What was the question? Sorry.
Listen, never mind. It's
oh my god.
Maybe someone in the chat will answer that for me.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry, Jared.
No, I'm just
this
saying,
is what
like,
I do to my
guys in the NFL. They're like Rashee Rice and Tyreek Hill. My kids love them, but like, you know what I mean? They're not the greatest off the field examples. So.
Oh, okay. Yes, I understand. I understand the question. Yeah. I'm not trying to make my kid into a Joe Mixon fan anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like you get to a point where it's like, okay, as long as you love them for football, but like, but it's like, well, Cohen was like, why did why did Tyreek get arrested? And it's
my.
I'm like, well, so you kind of have this as they get older, this little line you have to tiptoe a little bit,
No, it is difficult. Yeah, I mean, I haven't got to that point yet. My girl's only turned 8 next month, so and big Tyreek and Rashid Rice, huh? Gonna assume he doesn't love Paw Patrol. Oh, because the cop, because of Chase. That's a good one. I like it, Curtis. I got the joke. That was a good one. All right, so I'm gonna have musical guests on this show. You understand this?
Is it happening tonight?
The first musical guest for the show is.
How did I know?
Rap. So, I want everybody to follow me on Instagram at DadRapMusic. My dream in life is to be a rapper. A successful rapper. I've always been a rapper. I've been rapping since 1991. I've been playing fantasy football since 1991, which is ironic, right? So basically, only last month I said, why don't I just rap? I'm getting ready for my fantasy football draft. Why don't I just start rapping about fantasy football? So I wrote this song. Called The Running Back Carousel because when I first started studying for fantasy, I'm like, whoa, so many guys changed teams this year.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's
I was like,
it was challenging getting ready for the draft for sure.
So I'm going to make this. All right, let's see. I think that's a pretty good. Okay. I could get into this. All right, here we go. So this is Dad Rap, the Running Back Carousel. We're going to kick out after this. So thank you to everyone who showed up for the first episode of the Friday Football Freak Out. Hopefully you're not freaking out about these injuries today, but we're going to do it like this. To everyone out there, take you on a running back carousel. I take you on a running back carousel, round and round, where they win. It isn't just a competitive. The pack, 8 points is pack. Dylan wasn't good as a player. He's one you want to avoid because the pack drafted Marshawn Lloyd, and that all happened because the pack is like Noah of Aaron Jones. Now he's calling Minneapolis his home. He replaces Madison. No one's as bad as him. Now he's in Vegas, replacing Jake. Actually, Madison's backing up Neil White. In Tennessee, I'm buying the Clyde hype. But if he gets most collared, I might spend a few dollars on his handcuff own dollars. Because he left the Cowboys and they bought back. I'd rather have Rico Battle. Derrick Henry left the Titans. That's why Spears is exciting. Henry's on the Ravens. It'll be amazing to see Henry and Lamar in this thing backfield. My name is Dad Rap, giving that 90s rap feel. I take you on a running back carousel. I take you on a running back carousel, round and round, where they live. I take you on a running back carousel with Jared Welton, the racing dudes. All right, man. Here we go.
Nice.
Henry's on the Ravens, so where's Gus? He's on the Chargers. The only Charger back in truck because they also got J.K. Dobbins. That's a problem. Now he's going to win the money. I'm making money like a sticker. Get your hands up. Can you believe Austin Eckler's a commander? He was the number one back for years and years. But Eckler on Washington, something to feel. Oh, my God. All right. I'm going to get it going. I got one more verse. So, I really appreciate you showing up tonight. I really hope everyone shows up on Friday night for this show. We're going to have a lot of fun. Hopefully we get some good picks out. If you're playing fantasy football, PPR, I want you to do this. If you're playing PPR, put your hands in the air. DeAndre Swift says Chicago Bear. And Deontay Foreman's no longer there. He went to the Cleveland Browns. Act like you really care. So Swift left Philly. The Eagles could take 3 years and $37 million for Saquon, making Giants fans off this Island Ferry. At least the Chief man got Devin because he left Houston and it had Slim Pickens. So the Texans went out and got Joe Mixon. He's out of Cincinnati. He's always dropped me badly. That's the end of my rap course. The Bengals got Zach Moss. And that's it. That's running back carousel. Thank you to the racing dudes for letting me do whatever I want. I've interviewed horses, all over the place. Saratoga Slim, that music. I'm out. I'll see you next 10 p.m. Eastern every Friday. I'm going to be doing this show from Houston next week. For the Friday football freak out. Peace. I'm out.
Sarah. Oh no, Dad rap. Dad rap.